So yeah, I just wanted to sit down and to talk just kind of openly about kind of life, our experiences, and where, like, what in life has gotten us to where we are now, and kind of where we see each other moving forward. Right now, there's no name to this podcast. It's really just something I wanted to do, just to talk kind of openly and freely without like really restrictions or guardrails behind what we're supposed to talk about. So, to introduce myself, my name is Thomas, Thomas Stroud, living up in Chattanooga, Tennessee currently. To my left, we have
Cy'ree Clark. I am living in Columbia, South Carolina, originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I am working on developing my vintage clothing company.
Yeah, and then to my right.
Sweet. I'm Ellington Williams. I'm was born right outside of Charlotte and Monroe. Grew up in Lexington. Currently reside in Columbia. I'm a musician, artist, just a dreamer. And you can follow me on any music platform at Sir Ellington. So,
Already plugging the IG.
You gotta do it.
First out the gate.
They gotta know what you do. They gotta know who you are.
Exactly, and that's what I want to get into. We kind of had this conversation last night when we were over at Alex's and his sister's house, but it was just this idea, this conversation of what do we do as just men, just people, like for jobs and that kind of stuff, and how did we get there? Like, what was the road and the track to get to where we are, and where do we see ourselves moving forward? And it's not like where do you see yourselves in 5 or 10 years, but it's where do you see yourself like futuristically. Like, what do you want to end up doing? Is it what you're doing currently? Like, is it to expand into other arenas? Yeah, and so we kind of just like talked about how we each went to school and had different degrees, and sometimes that degree doesn't really lend itself to exactly what we're doing now, but it kind of showed the fact that if you're able to sit and kind of be in a place for 3 or 4 years and be disciplined enough to stick that out, like you learn something in those 3 or 4 years, or 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, however long it takes you to finish school. Like that gives you something mentally of like, all right, if I can do this for however long it took me, that can put myself forward, moving forward in life to whatever avenue I want to go into. So like a little bit of background of what I went to school for. Originally went to school for finance, and I was studying international business and finance, and hated it. And it wasn't that it was like super difficult. I mean, accounting is relatively difficult. Like if you don't like math, like it's not the place to be in.
Yeah, most definitely.
But it just wasn't something I was passionate about doing. And I was always passionate about filmmaking or about photography. Always loved movies, always loved just the visual side of things. I was a very visual learner. And so once I realized I didn't want to do finance, I transitioned into an art degree. And my major was media arts, where I was focusing on like narrative filmmaking, and so I was screenwriting, I was learning cinematography, and then I was also learning fine art photography, which was, I started out shooting on black and white 35 millimeter film photography, and that lended itself to going in and shooting digitally and doing prints and that kind of stuff. But once I graduated school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and unfortunately, the school system I was a part of didn't really, I guess, give the opportunity or like let me know that, hey, here are options of what you can do with this degree. We will help you out. Or like, here are some resources that you can look into to go and make a career with what you study. So it took a lot of discipline on myself to find an internship, find a job, and really kind of put together my own career path. So right out of college, like I interned at this small creative agency, and Ellington and worked with me for a summer, which was my last summer there, but
We didn't know that going into it. We had no idea, but anyways.
yeah, and it was just a weird time for me to be in that space. But during that time I was there, like we shot weddings, we shot local commercials, we shot headshots for a law firm and for these other companies, and it allowed me to get a wide net and a wide breadth of clients and type of content that I was shooting and producing. And it made me realize that I really love commercials. I like doing, like, yes, filmmaking and storytelling, but doing that in a shorter capacity, like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, minute, 6 seconds. Like, how do you make a compelling, cohesive story in that short amount of time? That's what I really, like, figured out what I wanted to do. So I kind of ran with that, and that's really where I wanted to go. Now, on the other hand, Ellington had the same degree I had, and if you want to kind of share, like, your pathway into schooling and
Yeah, for sure. So like in high school and all that stuff, like I was doing sports, and so sports were like the thing. Actually, I should probably backtrack, give just a little beginning part of this. Like music's always been like my passion. Music's always been a thing that's just come naturally to me. Ever since I was like a youngin, like ever since I was really young, always had a fascination with music. Was named after Duke Ellington, so it's kind of like I'm born into this. But anyways, music wasn't really the cool thing in high school. Being in band wasn't a cool thing in high school, so I made a switch and started playing football. And football was pretty fun for a time, but I saw early on that it wasn't really taking me anywhere, and then got a part of cheerleading, which is a totally different switch, but that actually gave me more opportunities to branch out, to travel, to just meet people, to network and different things like that. And so being a part of that, I saw an aspect of music in cheerleading, and I don't know if we really talked about this a lot before, but I just kind of thinking about this in cheerleading, especially in all-star cheer and stuff like that, which is what I did for a while, and then actually got the chance to go collegiately to do cheer. There's every routine that you perform has music, and the owner of my gym that I was at, he had an in-home studio, and so sometimes after we would leave the gym, when I was coaching and stuff like that, we'd go by his place because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be up late mixing music. So he's like mixing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's like mixing these tracks, and he had his own. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy when you start thinking about all the details of life. But he had his own studio, and he would mix these tracks for Archer music, or he'd be like, hey, this person sent me some stuff so I can like blend it into these tracks. So I got to kind of see producing on a bigger scale, where he's got his own company called 8 Count Music. And so I was like, dang, like that's really dope. Like I've kind of like had a passion for like making beats and different things like that as a hobby. Long story short, once I ended cheerleading, I was going to school at the time for media arts and minoring in music. And the reason I did that track was because, like, obviously loving music, kind of letting go of, sports. I was able to look at it from a place where, at the time, and I don't think they do now, but USC didn't have a music production program. And so it was like I wanted to do music for videos, because anytime you watch a video, anytime let's say you're in a store or a commercial place, like there's usually music to it. And so I was like, dang, like that's kind of cool. That's a different little niche. So like, what if I make, music for the films or for the video stuff? So obviously getting a kind of base knowledge of shooting, video, taking documentary class, shooting photography and different things like that, we ended up coming together and shooting freelance. Thomas and I did freelance once we got out of college for a little bit, shooting weddings and different things like that. So I was like always thinking, how can I incorporate music into this background?
Because you're not always like, you're not hearing like a Drake song and like a Macy's ad. Like, so there's like these music is, particularly in commercials or in short like aspects of like videography. Like you're not seeing these top 40 hits. So I think what you realized early on was there's an avenue that I can create like my art in that may not be like, I'm not signed to Sony Records, but how can I still put out my art? So like, what are you doing after freelance with me? I know part of my story, we can go to that later, but a part of the story that like I
left me.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Goodbye, Thomas.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Tomas left.
Yeah, I mean, I was living in South Carolina for the majority of my life, and decided to leave. My friends, my community, my church, my like everything around me to go and follow a job, because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. And so I went to an advertising agency. And so after I was doing that, I left Columbia. I left Greenville, and Ellington. You became a worship pastor, right?
Yeah. So that was kind of crazy how that happened. But yeah, I started kind of just like leading worship for a small group, just like in the house, just like we were doing worship every now and then. There was a small group called Becoming back in the day, and that's actually where Thomas and I got super close. And just like became brothers, became fam. And they encouraged me, actually, him and a couple other guys encouraged me, like, dude, like, we just overheard you singing, like, you should, like, lead worship, you should, like, do this. And I was like, no, didn't want to do it, bucked against it for a little while, and then finally kind of just, like, started doing it. Well, fast forward to about a year and a half, maybe after that, the pastor of the church that I go to now is Dream Church, it's Pastor Josh. We sat down and had a meeting, and he was saying how, like, at that time, his whole worship team, like, just before he started the church, like, quit. And they just weren't on the same page about some things, which I feel like we could say that for another podcast.
Yeah, I think it's a different podcast.
Yeah, different podcast. Not gonna get
after we get
that.
to know each other a little bit. There we go.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus right now. We'll get to that, but
right now.
Yeah, right now. It's on the way. But no, I kid. But anyways, he had told me about how his worship team had completely like just backed out, and I was like, dang, dude. So anyways, I go to the service, the first service that they ever had, and I just see him, like, I see his heart for worship. I see him, like, you know, singing, and the pastor, you know, I see him leading worship with his brother, and I'm like, yo, like, the Lord was like, this is where you're supposed to be. And so that day, I was just like, all right, well, I'm just going to stay here, because I was, honestly, Thomas had left, most of my other community at that time had left, so I'm like, shoot, I might as well leave.
At this time, we had, so the small group we were in, essentially it was like 4 or 5 really close guys.
Yeah.
I had just moved to North Carolina, and then the other 2 dudes that were really tight with us moved out to Colorado to go and to Bible college. And so Elle was kind of left in limbo.
I was kind of just left, and I saw, I was like, well, dang, if they're leaving, well, shoot, I might need to look into going somewhere else. I might need to look into going out to California, because, like, my heart's, like, in worship and music, so, like, maybe I can go to Bethel, or maybe I can go to, like, you know, Tennessee and be a part of United Pursuit, or whatever it is, just looking at different options, and so ready to leave. Like, I was so ready to get out of Columbia, and then, like, just heard the Lord say, like, this is where I want you, and I was like, bro, why? But okay, you know, and so I just started volunteering around, just helping out, and then probably a couple weeks into just being a Dream, PJ had asked if I wanted to, you know, start helping lead worship, and next thing you know, we're here. So that's kind of the condensed version of the story, and that was back in 2017. So I've been leading worship for close to 3 years now, coming up in November.
Now,
December.
Were you producing music already at this point? So in 2017, were you starting your studio? Were you starting working on Sir Ellington kind of music stuff, or what was that track like?
That was like, so producing then was like, I was making beats on an iPad. Like, I didn't have a MacBook at the time. I didn't have a studio. Like, no, like I had an iPad and a set of headphones. And so like, used GarageBand, so I would just like make beats on the iPad, just like a hobby. Like this wasn't even a thing like, oh yeah, I want to like, like this is really gonna be the thing that I, produce off of. But I actually was blessed with a MacBook Air and got
Still
Logic on
rocking
it.
with that MacBook
Still
Air.
rocking with the MacBook Air. So
2
like,
years into it.
It's not about what you got, it's about how you use it.
There you go.
And how you take care of things. But I was using the MacBook Air and
Amen.
and so I was using the MacBook Air and still use the MacBook Air and had Logic on it and everything. And over time, I just was able to put money aside and then, buy more equipment, buy audio interface, buy some actual studio headphones, buy some monitors, different things like that. So it's been a journey. And then once I kind of got most of the studio things set up, I started to be like, okay, I got all this gear. I need to start making money off of the things that I've already invested in, and so.
Getting that return on investment. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think what some people, I was very much into this as well. I thought at least I had to buy the nice camera immediately. I had to spend a full grip, or I had to like go out and like get the best camera, the best audio, or the best lights to make the best photos or the best films or the best stuff. But exactly what you were saying is it's not the stuff that you have that makes you a good producer or a good musician or a good videographer or photographer. It's using what you have and making that really showcase your actual skills. And so like I've seen people do photo shoots with like a Polaroid and like disposable camera, like talk about retro, which is kind of a cool segue into what
for sure
Cy'ree does. So Cy'ree, how did you, like, I know you've lived in Columbia for a long time. How did you get in touch with Ellington? How long have you known him? I've only known Cy'ree for like 3 years, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Every time people ask that, I always think like, how did what was the actual first moment? Yeah. But I think it was honestly at Becoming. To be honest,
it was a small group.
Really?
Yeah. It was through Sherry.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know you were a part of Becoming. Okay.
This is after y'all left.
This is after
when Thomas left. This is when I came on this.
Yeah.
Cy'ree replaced me.
Not replaced. He stepped in when I needed some more guy community because Becoming had got condensed where it was just like me and a bunch of girls sitting around talking about the Lord, and I'm like, man, dang, like I need some dudes.
Need some brothers.
Yeah. So
I would say. Just at Becoming, and then Sherry, who's like kind of like the leader of Becoming, spiritual mother, just kind of like prophesied just like our friendship.
Oh wow!
And like what it would be, just like prophesied it, like working on music together, just basically just like growing together and just like really just like experiencing in fullness like what it is like we're called to do like together. And so I remember. I was like, yeah, let's work on some music. I'll play guitar or something. So I came over to the house.
Yeah.
And segment. So you know how like if you play music, you understand that like sometimes you can like jam with someone and they're off like in their own universe and like you can't really connect. Like there's no like true vibe and it's almost more of like a burden than like actually enjoying the time. So when me and Ellington first like jammed, it was like this like instant like connection of like you can't even like put words to it. Like it was just like one. Wow. And so it was like in that moment I was like dang, like that's like my brother. Like we like this is gonna go further than just like playing in the bedroom or just like loading in the speakers from the van, you know what I mean, plugging them up and just like hauling everything back off when we're finished. Like this is actually gonna eventually like turn into something great, even greater than what it is now. So that's kind of like how I first met.
Interesting.
I think it was a cool moment for me too, because I'm like I had seen you around a couple times through just like you being around the house at Becoming and stuff like that. But like I think we were just kind of practice maybe a set list or something to do like part of worship for the next like small group meeting, and like we just started jamming, and it was like. It was the universal language of like I didn't say a thing, like we weren't even talking at one point, and we were just following each other, and it was like you would have thought we'd been playing for, like we'd known each other for a while. It was just like that chemistry was instant, and it wasn't like forced or anything like that.
Interesting. Dang, that's cool. So like my first, I guess, intro to you, Cy'ree.
Yeah, when did we meet?
Ellington. Well, so I knew about you before I met you. So Ellington was doing a photo shoot with you. So you borrowed, like, I guess it was Katie's old camera.
It was either Katie's or Austin's or something
Austin's
like
old
that.
camera.
We went to the garage.
Yeah,
Remember
it
that?
was
We
like
went to the
some
garage. That was a minute ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either like
Yeah.
it was either was it in Cola or was it?
It was in
Greenville?
Cola. Yeah, we were
Okay.
just like walking around. We were in the Vista for a little bit, and then like found a cool garage and just like
So
talking about wanting to
so
shoot.
much fun. I never-
So yeah, L like sent me these photos or like showed me these photos. Like, dude, what do you think about these edits and that kind of stuff? And I was like, yeah, dude, these are sick. And I was like, who's this kid? Like who are you hanging out with? Not like in like a jealous friend way. We're just like, I've never met this dude before. But yes, that was like, he was like, it's Cy'ree. And I was like, okay, bet. Like I don't know when we officially met. Like I truly have no idea. It probably was at Dream when I came down for maybe a weekend. Like I don't know.
I think it might have been at Dream, or I know it probably was. You came to Dream and then we went out to lunch afterwards or something like that. That might
Always
have been
gotta
the first,
eat.
like
Always gotta eat.
always gotta eat and sleep and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. But what's cool, like with the chemistry that you guys had with music, like I felt almost like immediately like we were like friends. Like immediately we were brothers. Like, and a part of it is like because Ellington and I are pretty close and are as close as we are. Like if you're cool with Elle and he's still rocking with you after like a year or a few months, like you're a good dude. Like he's a good judge of character when it comes to that. Because if you don't vibe well, Elle will tell you.
he's not wrong.
Anything he's gonna tell you, or he's just gonna like kick you out.
It's not like a kick you out. It's just like you just kind of like, it's like I'm not in a way I'm about to kick somebody out, but I'm just like
I don't need more friends.
I have been in a place of savagery where I've said that I don't need no more friends. You know, whether it be to girls that be like, I just want to be friends. Yeah, they're just like, let's just be friends. I was like, I don't need no more friends. Like
No new friends.
that's
no,
the
no,
truth.
no.
But you know, it wasn't like a kick out thing. It's just like being kind of a little bit more aware of like who's riding for you and who you're riding for.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So after y'all got connected with music and becoming, you were a part of a church, and then decided to come and like hang out at Dream. Were you doing that? Like I know you were leading a small group, right, at CLA.
Yeah, so at CLA, I was doing youth leadership. I was doing small groups. We had like fine arts program. I was helping lead up the fine arts program, which we would do like competitions in just like different states like throughout the whole summer, and then we like compete at the end of the summer, like before school would start back. I led up a lot of church trips, preached a couple times. Just I guess the main thing was just like being involved in like the students' lives, and just like really being like a rock like during that high school like like teen time period where it's like everything is like very amped up, like people are very influenced, and like these things can like the influences at that age can most times determine the trajectory of their life for the rest of their life. So it's just like understanding that and just kind of like bridging the gap and just like being Christ in that time period was just like my main thing. But then, as I got a little bit older, and as some of the kids that I really poured into started to get older, I kind of felt the Lord like take his hand off of me being there in like a good way, a healthy way. And I've been coming to Dream Church and like helping with worship like here and there, maybe just like coming by. And so the Lord just kind of wanted me to come to Dream Church and start with like worship and just coming here.
So now you didn't go to USC?
No.
You didn't go to a university after high school, right?
Yeah, so I went to Tech, and I was going to do the bridge program over to USC.
Dope.
But through that...
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
I'll be real with you.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my plan. Yeah. And I guess for a little bit, it was kind of just like I needed to create this formula so that say like
speaking to your microphone a little bit more.
Okay. I needed to create this formula, so it was like whenever my family or someone were asking me like, what am I doing? It's like, okay, I have this plan, I'm going to Tech, I'm transferring over to USC, but it was like it was so hard for me to like fully give myself to something that I'm truly not passionate about. So it began to be more of a like thing for me to have something to say versus like this is like what God actually wants me to enter into. And because like if you tell someone, hey, like I don't want to go straight into university, like
that'll preach.
A lot of people would think like if you were to say like, hey, I don't want to go straight into university, they'd be like, especially Christians would be like, that's stupid.
And what you gonna do with your life? Like what?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like for me, I'm like, am I living my life so I can allow other people to see me as a success in their eyes, or am I gonna like listen to the voice that I know and truly follow what God has for me, despite if other people that are believers are giving me advice opposite than what He's speaking to me?
Yeah.
So good. That was a very kind of like difficult, but also like triumphal time in my life. And so like if I have to go to school, like especially with like culture and stuff that we'll talk about later, like if I have to go back and get more like business advice or like get business knowledge and skills, like I have nothing's holding me back from going, but I just didn't want to go just to
get a piece of paper that says you finished it. I feel
That's
that.
Good.
So like not to be a part of that family question, but like so what were you doing outside of like Tech? Like what were you passionate about? What were you like, did you have a plan or like an outline of like I want to do this? Like Ellington wanted to do music producing, I wanted to do videography. Like what was your kind of goal in that time, and how has it shifted kind of now?
Yeah, my main thing was just like music, and fashion. Like,
it's always been in the fashion stuff.
Yeah, fashion and music were the main like two things I've always like wanted to be a part of. Like even like when I would like go and visit my dad, like when I was younger, like the first place I would go is I'd run into the closet and just like swipe through and just like look at all the different cool colors, combinations, sneakers, like everything. And then like we get in the car and then like
where was that? Where were you guys going? Where were you finding like those clothes and stuff? Were you going to like thrift stores back then, or when was that when you were?
Well, no, he was more into like Ralph Lauren and like cool like designer stuff. So like he wasn't really much into like thrifting and like stuff like that. And I wasn't really too much into that stuff back then either. It was more like specifically his favorite brand was Ralph Lauren. So by nature, I like Ralph Lauren. So
he's rocking Ralph Lauren
t-shirt.
And the shoes.
Yeah. Ooh, the drip.
That's crazy. These boots, so side note, again, these boots that I'm actually wearing, my mom got me for Christmas because my dad would get these pair of boots every year, like around like Christmas time.
Crazy.
And so I told my mom, I was like, I want a pair of boots like my dad. So literally this past year, she got me these polo boots. So.
Yeah, they fresh.
That's dope.
They my size too.
Boot game.
I'll just game.
Boot game. So music, always been into that. Did you think about the producing route like Ellington, or were you more of like, I want to go, I want to sing and play on like the street corners and busk and play in bars, and I want to be on stage, I want to be in shows? Like what was your thought process behind music?
Yeah, so my thing was I kind of wanted to sing and play guitar, like just like that combo of like doing both, like wherever I could do both. Like so for me, like growing up like in Maryland, like where I grew up, like there was no like guitar influence. Like no one in my family like played guitar. My mom does not sing. My dad surely cannot sing. Grandparent definitely cannot sing. Like so there wasn't any like there wasn't like a true like strong musical influence besides like my aunt.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how I knew like, wow, like this isn't something that, I'm being made to do, but like this is just like a part of who I am. Like this is something like in me that needs to be like expressed. You know what I mean? So just singing and like playing guitar, like singing and playing guitar
cool
anywhere
stuff.
I could.
Shoot, Thomas, I actually got questions for you. I know this, but the people listening don't know this. Thomas is also a musician and has been in music, doing music.
Mm-hmm.
We have jammed together, played together. several times. Worked on some things together many times, even before kind of
One
the
take
video
Tommy.
stuff.
One take Tommy.
Yeah. One take Tommy is. we'd say, hey, get on the guitar, lay down the lick on the track, and it's like one take is good. Like it's super cool. So, but like, what was the thing that got you into music? And this might go way back.
Yeah,
but
this may get deeper than we want it to right now, but it's all right. We'll go there. Yeah, so a part of kind of my life and music was I grew up not in like an art music kind of family. It was very like dad and mom both work in business and grew up in the South, and so you're not like really pushed to go and explore the arts really. But I kind of going back with like the video stuff, like I always was drawn to the creative stuff. And so when I was going to like summer camps, like there was always a day where like arts day or whatever it was, and I'd be banging on the streets with sticks and and like pots and pans. Like I was always always doing some musical something. And I did band similar to you. Like I was a trumpet player, but it wasn't cool to be in band in like 7th and 8th grade. Like you weren't the cool kid if you were playing trumpet. Like
no, you weren't.
Especially if you're wearing braces too. Like that's that's tragic on the mouth.
Yeah.
But kind of had that love of music ingrained kind of back then. And when I was like 15, maybe 16, I think it was like 16, I just like thought randomly one day, I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar. Like I was like finished wrestling for the year, like just had surgery to repair my knee, and I was like, I'm not doing anything for the next 3 months, so like might as well learn an instrument. And so I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar. So like I bought a very cheap $90 guitar, and my individualistic mindset was like, I want to learn myself and teach myself. And so I learned guitar in that short time frame where I wasn't doing anything. It was like right at the start of the summer, and it just so happened that kind of that same time frame, like that's when I really started following the Lord, and going to a church in that October. And so about 6 months after I learned how to play guitar, I started going to a church where music was a really big part of that church. Like they had a cool band and that kind of stuff. And so I immediately gravitated towards that side of church and worship and stuff. And so was kind of like forced myself into that friend group because I was like, y'all are cool. I want to be like you guys. And so 6 months, or I guess you can put like 8 months after learning how to play guitar, I joined that worship band as like an acoustic guitar player. Not good. Like I was not a talented guitar player by any means, but like I was a part of the group, which was always something I wanted to be. And so from then on, it was just surrounding yourselves with those who are better than you allow you to elevate. And you elevate quickly if you're around people who are a lot better than you are, because you're wanting to.
Yeah, that's true.
To reach that same level, that same skill level. So was a part of that for about 2 years, and then went to college and learned pretty quickly that everybody plays guitar. and living in Columbia at the time and going to school at USC, you find everybody sit on the horseshoe and play guitar. And I was like, I don't want to be another one of those guys. So
they were doing that for juice, though.
Yeah. Oh,
honest,
for sure.
so.
For sure for the juice.
G, C, D, E minor.
Exactly. Put a capo on it, you have every song.
A little wagon wheel for the Southern Bells.
Exactly.
That's what they were doing.
And that's just, that wasn't my vibe. So I learned this, but I figured I wanted to at least be well versed in other instruments. Like if I wanted to either be a worship leader, or if I wanted to be a part of a band, or want to be jamming with a group of people, if you have 3 guitar players,
Yeah.
that jam session's gonna be pretty crowded and not effective. So I learned piano through some music theory classes I was taking, but also just by sitting at a piano and learning it. And inside of that, learned also like kind of how to play bass a little bit, kind of how to play the cajon or the djembe, the banjo, mandolin, like these other instruments that would be cool to be a part of a set with. Could never play the drums. I don't know how people do one thing with the legs and the other thing with the hands.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't do it.
Especially you think about like the screamo bands.
Yeah.
They're doing double bass
Like,
pedals. It's like going off.
I can't do that. Like that's just not. That's not me.
Drum sets give me anxiety.
Oh, for
it's like
sure.
the big ones, like the with all the cymbals and like different
Dude.
toms. I'm like, it's wild. But yeah,
I'm really good at air drumming in the car though.
yeah. Steering wheel.
Absolutely.
Tearing the steering
Yeah,
wheel up.
tearing the steering wheel up. But yeah, so that kind of
That's funny.
knowing kind of that knowledge when we were part of that small group called Becoming, I realized very quickly that my voice is not as good as Sir Ellington over here.
Cool out.
and that's okay. Like I'm very okay with understanding that I'm not a vocalist, but I knew that he also played guitar, and he's probably just as good, if not better than I am at guitar. So I was like, you know what, if you like want to lead, I can play piano if we're ever doing sets with piano, or I can sit in the back and we can like go through sets together, whatever it is. And it kind of just fell into that where I became a part of the band as opposed to that front man. Yeah, so that's kind of my music stuff. Never really been into the producing side. I mixed for a while and was a part of a mega church and ran in front of house, like mixing and that kind of stuff for live music. But never really a passion of mine. It's super difficult. So hats off to anybody who mixes and masters.
Yes, that's a whole nother beast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's crazy. So I want to get back to, you mentioned culture, and probably those who are listening don't fully know what that is. You said you were into fashion. So how did your love of fashion lead you into starting this business where you're selling and you're thrifting and you're selling these old vintage like t-shirts and hats and shoes and that stuff?
So
Speaking to your microphone too.
yeah, here we go. Mic check. So I don't know. So I guess for me it was eventually like my goal is to like eventually have like my own like brand where I'm like making and designing like my own like clothing items. But I always love to be like, I always love to stand out. I always love to be like original. I always like to be the guy who didn't wear what everybody else was wearing, and not to just be like, oh, I just want to stand out, but like just me being who I am, just like naturally being different from like the mainstream. And so with vintage, like whenever I started wearing like a vintage tee here or there, or just going to like Soda City, there's a guy called Thriftmonger before I even started like selling vintage at all. Actually where I got this polo shirt from. And just whenever I would wear it, like I would just get like, wow, like I've never seen one like that before, or man, like that's original, or man, like even for me, I'm like, I haven't seen anyone else wearing that, so I want to go after it. And so for me, just the originality in each item, I was like, wow, if I know how I feel whenever like I wear these items and like what they mean to me, I felt like that would be a good way for me to start and hop into just selling clothes. And so if I can make someone feel as special as I feel whenever I wear vintage, like why not just stop with like a couple people? Why not hit thousands of people? Why not eventually reach tens of thousands of people, hopefully millions of people? You know what I mean? And so it's just like, I kind of like put this cap on like what I wanted to do. I'm like, no, like I want to sell to as many as I can, but that has to start somewhere. And so Culture Supply.
So what does, because I'm naive, I say, what is the difference between like going to say Urban Outfitters
Yeah.
and you have that old Nirvana tee
Yeah.
and some freshman in college goes in and she buys that Nirvana tee? Like, what's different between that T-shirt and like a vintage? Like, what does vintage like mean? Like, why is that so special? Why is that so different than like I guess you would call it like a reprint? Like, what's the difference there?
Expose them.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Urban Outfitters, close your ears.
Sorry.
So for me, I've always just been
Put 'em on blast.
someone who's enjoyed like the authentic thing. It's almost like if you're like a sneakerhead and you go to the flea market and you see some J's, they still say J. They look just like J's, but 9 times out of 10, they're probably fake. So if you're a sneakerhead, you're not even looking twice over there. You're skirting right by it unless you like fake sneakers, and I don't advocate for that. But for me, it was kind of just like, okay, similar to sneakers. Like, nobody wants fake sneakers. Like, in a sense, like it's the same for T-shirts. Like, if I have a T-shirt from like a Queen show or Queen concert, and Urban Outfitters is selling one for $50 as a reprint, it's like, okay, now how much is the shirt worth that's actually from the actual event in 1999? And how much more special does that make me whenever I'm wearing it, being able to say that, like, no, this is original. Like, this isn't, like, just a reprint. And so for me, it's just, like, just the originality in that. And so there was actually there's a guy that Jerry Lorenzo, he gets all of his, like, vintage wear from a guy in California. And he, on his podcast, he was saying how he put, I believe, Kanye or Jerry in a Snoop Dogg vintage T-shirt. And there was a brand in Japan who actually saw the Snoop Dogg T-shirt, and they actually put it in their runway show.
Oh, wow.
And sold them for ridiculous amounts of money and just reprint. And so then he started thinking, he was like, wow, like if this company is taking this same print and mass producing it and selling it for $250, $300 a piece, how much is the actual original? So then it just kind of gets into this thing of just like, wow, like what do we really have for people who actually truly care about the culture and like what it is?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you look at, I guess, like paintings or like pictures, like the
Mona Lisa.
Yeah, like you look at the Mona Lisa, like that's truly priceless. But there are a bunch of reprints, like same thing with like the Declaration of Independence, like all the things that I have on my walls at my house are not originals, but they're like really reprints. It's just like they're printed on a canvas, not from the original painter, because I'm broke and I don't have money to buy originals. But so yeah, I guess that's cool. I didn't think about that how much the original matters. That's cool. So you mentioned the name Culture.
Yes.
What is that? Is that like an Instagram? Is that like your website? Like what is Culture, and kind of what are you doing with that? How does your process go with creating a business like that?
Yeah, so the name originally came from me and a buddy, one of my good friends. His name is Colton, and we actually went to a sneaker expo here in Columbia, and we're just sourcing around and everything. And with a lot of people, like with my mom or my sister, if I go shopping, 30 minutes in, they're ready to go. Did you find everything? I'm like, no, I'm still looking. But for us, it was kind of just like, man, an hour goes by, still doing good. 2 hours go by, still going good. 3, 4 hours, I'm like, wait, like, we might be on to something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we, like, get together and, like, try and, like, just pursue this and go after it. And so that's what we did. And so that's how we started the name, Cy'ree and Colton, and we just started Culture Supply. But now moving forward, I think that I'm probably going to be just moving in like a little different direction with like kind of like creating like my own items and being able to just put all my time and energy into something that like I can control. And so we're still kind of like figuring out that process and everything. Sure. But it's definitely moving in a direction that'll be great, and people love it. So, yeah.
That's cool. So you sourcing all of these like vintage clothes. What are you looking for when you go to like? Are you going to like a Goodwill? Or are you going to like Salvation Army? Like, where are you going?
Can't tell you that.
Can't tell me.
Can't tell you that.
Okay.
I was just kidding.
Hidden
I don't know
secrets.
if he wants to tell you.
So yeah, I'll say this. I'll say any way that you could possibly think of someone finding an old T-shirt, I'm doing that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any way possible. If it's on the side of the road, you better believe if I see a T-shirt on the side of the road, I'm stopping and checking what's on the other side of it. Like, you know what I mean? Just like any way you could possibly think, we're doing that.
Dope.
A T-shirt. So
Okay.
yeah.
So how are you selling these? Are you setting like a Posh Market thing? Are you on like Instagram? Are you on have like a website like Shopify? Like, what are you doing?
Yep. So right now, mainly just like Instagram, and so we've been doing like a lot of like local meetups with people. Before COVID, we were doing pop-ups at local coffee shops, different venues, just trying to like get our name out there a little bit more. Unfortunately, because of COVID, nobody wants you in the shops. Sure. Or like there's like a, max amount of people that can be in a space, and so that's kind of made what we're doing a little bit more harder. But nonetheless, you can't let that stop you. So what I'm working on now is starting a website so that we can allow people to shop more so like online. A lot of people are home. A lot of people aren't going out. So I feel like it'd be a little bit better for people to spend their money online versus going to a store, going somewhere where they may not want to go out in groups of people. So that's kind of what we're working on now, getting the website designed and everything.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you originally started with Colton and trying to, I guess, you go kind of your own path now, more like your own individual side of selling and reselling stuff. Are you bringing on other people, or what does that look like for you expansion wise for?
Yeah. So I think just with anything in life, when you grow and you meet people or you move to a different job, like before when I was working my 9 to 5, I couldn't be as involved as I wanted to be.
Sure.
But that was something that I needed to sacrifice, which ultimately sacrificed itself for me. But that's something that I needed to sacrifice to like achieve that goal because it meant a lot to me. And so I just think just with life in general, people move in different directions. And so I know he really wants to pursue chiropractics and everything like that, and I'm backing him 100%. He's backing me 100% in everything that I want to do. So, like I said, I just wanted something to where I could move more in like my direction. But Sir Ellington over here, Sir Ellington here has been even before that. He was at all the pop-ups, doing video for the pop-ups, photography for the pop-ups, helping pop up the pop-ups. So
somebody needs muscles to do it.
Yeah, so somebody I need some help. So
you need hands.
So yeah, so we're tackling it right now. Just getting people involved, just making connections, being more intentional about meeting people and talking to them about what it is we're doing. Shoots, photography, video, and so I'm just excited to see kind of like where we can take it.
So what's that like we're in our mid-20s. What is that like, owning your own business, being an entrepreneur, like having to go out and hustle and grind and really kind of fight, I don't want to say to make a living, but fight to get your name out there? Like, what has that been like for the past, you've probably been doing it for 2 years now? Year and a half maybe?
Yeah, I'd probably say about a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Like, talk about, I guess, kind of what it's like to be a young entrepreneur in a city like Columbia in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And what struggles and kind of like how you've overcome that. And yeah,
I'd say probably one of the harder parts is, I don't know, being afraid that your dream or your passion won't actually turn into what you want it to be, and allowing that to make you go into the safer approach, or the approach that may make more money like firsthand. And so for me, coming out of the job that I worked prior, 9 to 5, with property management and real estate, it was, okay, now I have this health insurance, I have dental, I have vision, I have steady bomb checks coming in every 2 weeks, but it's like my heart is still empty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, for me, like, there was so many times where I wanted to take a trip to see my family. I couldn't do it because I was working my 9 to 5. Or I wanted to be a part of an event, or I wanted to source, but it was like, no, I couldn't do it because of my 9 to 5. And, or hey, like, I want to learn more about my business, or I want to be able to source more inventory. I want to be able to sell more. Oh, I can't do it because I have my 9 to 5. And so for me, being young, being 22, it's like, now I feel like I can truly unlock my time, my space. I can spend more time with my family, be more intentional with my friends, with my church, just be more open-minded and just be who I was designed to be. And so it's just like,
Wow.
I feel like for me, it's like, okay, like I worked at Urban Outfitters as well. It was kind of just like, I can do pack and ship at Urban Outfitters. I can give people advice as to what they should wear and what looks good on them at Urban Outfitters. I can run the cash register at Urban Outfitters, or I can run the cash register for Cy'ree. I can show people what looks good on them in the clothes that I can provide.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's just like shifting that into like, okay, like I can do this for others, which ultimately, thank God I was in that place because I learned so much from it. But in that learning process, I learned that I can be doing this for myself and build wealth, like, for me, even at, like, you know what I mean? Like,
So what was it? How difficult was it to make that jump of letting go of that 9 to 5 and the security around that?
that
So
was.
we talked about that.
I
We
don't know,
talked
that was
about that.
different, but,
Yeah.
hop
Yeah.
on the mic.
Yeah, no, I mean, and obviously this question was geared more towards you, but
Yeah. No, I
At,
mean, you can,
like-
yeah, you've been in there.
literally the same thing. Like, I used to work for another company called Booster, and it was doing, fundraising for elementary schools and stuff like that. And it was a job because, like, during a certain time, you got to do what you got to do. Like, I'm not gonna say you don't.
gotta
Like,
eat.
you gotta eat. You still got responsibility. So for a certain time, you got to do what you got to do. But like, you have, like, for me, I think being in a place of understanding, like, I was not designed to settle for less than what God has given me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be 60 years old and be like, okay, I've made this much money. I've had my health insurance the whole entire time. I've done all these things, but I've missed out on life because it was taken away from me through me not being happy at my job or me settling for something just because I got a check. And so, like, when we were talking about this, because and this is another thing, like, while you listen, like, have people in your corner that support you.
Yeah.
Like,
That's huge.
have
That's
people in
huge.
your corner that, like, they're not gonna blow smoke. Like, they're gonna give it to you raw. It may hurt, it may sting a little bit in the moment, but, like, have that kind of people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes,
have those people,
absolutely.
because we all three of us, like, each of us have done this exact thing for each other in so many ways. And so, like, one of the things that I saw in Cy'ree early on was, like, his joy in selling vintage, his joy in music and all these things. And I'm like, bro, like it's time. Like, it's time to like do something different.
How did you know that it was that time? Or was it like just a gut feeling of like, know what, bump it, like, I'm tired of working for other people, like, it's time for me to step out? Like, what was that moment? Because I feel like people are waiting for something to fall back on, like some pillow underneath them to, like, all right, I want to step out, but I'm scared to. Like, how do you make that jump?
You got, like, this is kind of weird, but I don't know if y'all seen the movie Happy Feet, but like there's like this scene, where like the penguins are like on top of like this glacier, they're about to jump off and like go into the water, and like the other two jump, and then there's one, he just stand on the edge, he's like, I can't do it, and then he just like he tricks himself into jumping, like he's just like, you know what I'm saying? He's just like. He's like, ooh, what's that? And boom, he's gone. And then now he's actually like he, you know. And so like I think of it like that, but it's like, what was that thing that tricked yourself into jumping? Like, what is that thing that tricks me into jumping? And it's like, at the end of the day, it's not a trick, but it's more like, do I trust in the Lord that He's gonna provide for me? Do I truly trust that He's gonna be good? That like He's gonna open up doors when I just say yes. You know, and so like when I kind of saw like for myself that it was time for me to let go, like I did not have a job fully lined up coming out of, like I was working part-time for the church. So like that's what it was. And I was working also part-time with Booster, and Booster was draining me. I was just so tired. Like I didn't want to do music. Like I was exhausted, literally physically, where I couldn't do it. Like it was just too much. And I remember being in this place. I'm like, this is not bringing me joy. This is bringing me a paycheck, but like, I'm not happy with where I'm at. And I was like, I had heard that, you know, through Pastor Josh that they were like considering like bringing me on full time, but I didn't know when that was going to happen. And I remember one night, like, I was like, Lord, like I can only do about maybe 2 more weeks of this. So I went into the job, put my 2 weeks in. And for a little bit, like I did not have any source of income other than part-time with the church. And long story short, there was this one night my finances had started to get low. Like it started to get close where I'm like, I got to start figuring something out. Like I might need to find another job or whatever, but that so I can get by. But I just remember laying there and the Lord was like, do you trust me? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, we'll go to sleep. And I kid you not, that next day, Pastor Josh came up to me. He was like, hey, we want to offer you the full-time position. And I was like, ain't no way. Like, what? But like this was like almost a month after I had quit the other job.
So a full month.
A full month of just like getting part-time pay. So just like having to like really like budget and be on top of it. But like I wasn't, during that time of that month, I felt joy that I hadn't felt in a long time. Because I'm like, I can make my music. I can spend time with my people. I can kind of help with culture and stuff like that. So like I did that. And then when I saw where Cy'ree was and the things that he was telling me about his job and the things that he was going through, I was like, bro, like I think it's about time. Like obviously it's up to you to make that decision, and you know where you are better than I can. But like just from being close to you and just like seeing the potential of what you got going for you with vintage or music or whatever it is, I'm like, I know what brings you joy and what you're in don't right now, you know. And so I mean that's kind of where it was for that. But
wow. So your situation was similar, but COVID played a little factor into that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, so I say this. So for me, just seeing like what Ellington talked about kind of gave me more of a like, okay, like even though like it's like, yeah, like I know like God's gonna come through, and like, you know, like as a Christian I'm like, yeah, I stand on that. But you know, when it doesn't look like anything's going to come through, bro, it doesn't look like anything's going to come through, and that good old sweet paycheck might stop. It's like, I might stay another 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
I might stay another 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
That too. I like quit.
He's
bro.
like, quit. I'm like, all right, just give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks past. Like, did you put in your 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm doing like 2 months. And so like, literally, this probably went on for like months. Bro. Like it went on for months.
I feel that.
Literally,
yeah, it went on for months until it was like, I feel like in love, it was like, God was like, Cy'ree, like, if you don't leave, I'm gonna make you leave, and I'm not there anymore. You know, I don't really want to go into too much.
I'm not there anymore.
I don't really want to go into too much detail about it, but with COVID and a bunch of other things that, you know, that just like weren't healthy to me. And I think that's the thing too. It's like having your brothers or your sisters around you, people who love and care about you, who know you, to say, you know what, you ain't really looking too hot, or you may not be acting like you normally do, or this isn't the Cy'ree, this isn't the Ellington or the Thomas that I know. Something's off. And so it was like being able to have someone almost like reassure that like, hey, this actually is bad for me. Like the people who care about me most are like, you ain't doing so hot. So it's like having that too really helped in that process.
Yeah, it's super important to have those people that call out, like, not just your identity, but like what they see, that like who you are as a person, and they see that this job or this relationship or this whatever is like hindering you from being who you really are. We're not gonna go into relationships today because
let's
we
say
could go
different
podcast,
different podcast.
Relationship's gonna have it's gonna have like 3 different episodes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hot episode.
Yeah. That one's gonna be real raw.
Yeah.
So.
But no, I'm definitely in that same space to a degree. Like, I mean, when I left Columbia, like I freelanced around for like 8 months, and I was working with Ellington and how to make that jump. So I was working for a small creative agency in Columbia, and that summer Ellington was working with us. I had wanted to leave, and then my boss made that decision for me, and and wanted me to leave as well. So so I was no longer with that company. And I didn't know what to do. I was 22 years old. Like, yeah, open hands of like, God dang.
Being 22,
yeah,
literally living.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I had just gotten an apartment that I couldn't support without a paycheck. Like living on my own, like all of this stuff, like I thought I had made. I was like, I got it. Like I got my degree, I got my job, I got my apartment, like I'm set. And then that job left. And then shortly after that, I had to leave because I couldn't afford to stay in that apartment. But it forced my hand to really put things in perspective of, all right, how much do you really want to do this as a career? Like, is it just talk? Like, are you just like smoke and mirrors? Are you just like saying you're a photographer, saying you're a videographer, a music producer, or you sell like vintage clothes, or you're an entrepreneur? Like, are you just saying that, and it puts you in a place where like, all right, you don't have a security net anymore. How badly do you want it? And so it was 8 months of hustling, and I had to humble myself. I got a job at a coffee shop, managed that bar for a little while, and was shooting portraits of girls turning 21 for their birthday party. Like I had that, and then I was shooting
college grad pictures.
Yeah, college grad pictures, and I was doing like some weddings, and on top of that, like shooting some stuff for coffee shops for their like Instagram, because everybody needs photos for their Instagram, and not CrossFit charging gyms. Like I was working with CrossFit gyms and some fitness like corporations and that stuff, doing what I could do to get by. And honestly, like I wasn't strong enough. So because I left Columbia and I wasn't with my brothers every day, I didn't have that of like affirmation of like keep going after it, like you got it. And so like after 8 months, like I like got like real depressed, like wasn't doing well, and came to the realization of like, all right, I need time away from this life of stuff. And so we actually went out to Colorado. Like it was a very serendipitous time frame. We went out to Colorado, and
I love that word.
Serendipitous.
Yeah.
There you go.
Serendipitous.
But we were out there for about a week almost, and like the last day we were there, I get a phone call from an agency in North Carolina saying, "Hey, we saw your resume on LinkedIn. Do you want to come in for an interview?" And I was like, I don't even know who you are or how you got my resume, but sure. I think I had put in at that time over 200 applications to different companies like across the United States. And I had given up at that point. I was like, 200 people have either said no or haven't even looked at my stuff. And it took that reconnection of the people around me to be like, no, this is who you are and created to be, and getting back to community. And it was just that cool time frame. It was like, that's exactly when the Lord was like, all right, here's an opportunity for you. Are you wanting to step into it? At the time, like I needed to. So moved to North Carolina literally 10 days after we got back from Colorado.
Yeah. He left again.
I left again.
Bye, Tomas.
Bye, Tomas.
I'm sick of this.
Yeah. And was there for like 18 months, just under 2 years, and realized kind of more and more of what I wanted to do creatively as a videographer and a producer. And after 18 months, I was getting to that place of, all right, I want to do something else. Like, I've kind of learned what I could here, and there's got to be something else, like, along the road. And so I was looking for other jobs, and found out this job in Tennessee. And so I went there, and I've been producing there for about a year. And I'm getting to the point now, and I don't know if this is just, like, the way my brain works, where I can only stay still for 18 months at a time, or a year at a time before I get restless. But I'm getting to that point of that same kind of like tension that we have all felt of, all right, I want to either do my own thing and have it kind of like working for myself, because I can't just sit here anymore and produce the work for other people. I think something that we've talked about this a lot with music, but also with the videography stuff. Like, I don't want to be making new money. Like, I want to be making myself money and making my brothers money and like growing us, because like there's a time where I want to create my work, and I want that work to be what I'm doing and I'm passionate about. Like, it's great to be like to have a boss and to be working for these large clients that I've been working with, but I think I'm at a point where I'm realizing, I had to kind of like deconstruct this, like my thought process, but like I'm getting to a point, I'm at a point now where like, all right, what about my ideas? What about the things that I can do for myself? Like, I have 5 years of being a camera operator and an editor and a photographer. Like, I have 5 years of being that, and now I have a year of producing under my belt. All right, can I now sustain working for myself? Like, is that something that I have to really look at and kind of assess in my personal life? And I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, it's I'm not going to make a rash decision right here on this first podcast, but that's something I have been thinking about recently, is like, is this something I could potentially sustain and continue to do? And will that also bring me joy?
Yeah.
No,
that's huge. I think the whole thing about like doing what you love to do, like bringing you joy, like when Cardi and I, we talked about this, I don't know how many times, but like, and you and I as well, Thomas, but like, I think about it in the fact of like, yes, my if you want to look at the resume, like my job title right now is currently being a worship pastor, but like, because of where I'm at and the freedom that I have and responsibilities that I do have, I truly enjoy it, because I'm over music ministry. I'm able to produce things. I'm able to do, things that really truly bring me joy. And the cool thing about it is that when I look at it, it's like I had to take a step back and be like, is this even a job? Like, is this like, is this even, because the work that I've done in the past, like clocking in and doing all these different things that I didn't really have a whole lot of joy doing, like that actually felt like work.
Yeah.
But I had to be okay with saying, like, it's okay that this maybe not feel like work, or this may not feel like work, like, but it is, because I'm still, you know, I'm still working. But it's caused me to switch my whole perspective of work. You know, it's like being in a place where, like, I can produce and, you know, get the set list together for the week and all these different things. Like, those are fun for me. It's like putting arrangements together, or, you know, being able to take some time and produce tracks for the church and for the app, or whatever it is, like meeting up with other musicians, collaborating, doing things like that. Like, it doesn't feel like work, but it's like I'm still working.
Yeah.
I'm still putting in that time. And I think, like, you know, when you do what you love, like right now, the music side of things, of like selling, I'm not like raking in like racks on racks on racks every single week or anything like that. But it's like the money is not the motive. And I think, like, in today's culture, especially when you have family members, like, what are you doing now? What are you doing with your life? It's like, how much money are you making? What are you going to do about this? Like, you know, and it's like, no, the money is not the motive. If I can go after my passion and give it all that I got, and I trust in the Lord through that process, the money's going to come.
Wow.
But like, let's say if I go into my passion with money on my mind, now I'm actually not really going into my passion with the heart that I would if it wasn't, if that makes sense. So
that's huge. And it's one of the things too that I'm seeing not only in your life but a little bit in yours is once you get outside of, I guess, that 9 to 5 is kind of what we're going to go for, that structure of working for other people, it then opens up and allows you to not only do the things you love to do, like it's producing or being a worship pastor full time, but it's allowing you to experience other opportunities of work. Like, I know you love doing like some modeling and some acting stuff, and you're saying well with some photography and gigging on the side and doing some music venues and shows and stuff like that. Like, how big is that in y'all's life? Like, is that something that you were looking at doing, or was it something that you're like, you know what, I have free time now and this is something I enjoy doing, so it's kind of just fell into your lap? Like, what does that have looked like after you've kind of let go of that 9 to 5?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both. Like, while I was working, I would try that much harder to fit it into that busy schedule. But then it's like, okay, if you're putting something in there to live, something's going to die somewhere. So it's kind of just like picking and choosing, okay, these are all great things, but something's got to go. And so it's just like, now not having that space or that time that's filled every day, now when the opportunity does come, 9 times out of 10, I can be there, I can do it. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, that's even major. In that's allowed me to like search for things to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so like I played for an event, the Food and Wine Festival in Columbia. And so then it allows me to reach out and say, hey, thanks for, you know, asking me to play. If you have any events coming up in the future, just let me know. I'll be available. With the job, I couldn't really do that. You know?
Yeah. Like, you don't know if you could be available.
They let me know when they could be when I'm available.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that goes with anything with like trips. I think one thing that really is kind of funny, but really brought me to like the understanding of like, man, like I want to work for myself is my bosses were going on a cruise to, I think, Israel or something like that. And I think at the time I wanted to go on a trip with us. and it was kind of just like, you can't go. And I'm like, why? It's like, we're going on a trip. And it's like, well, now it's like, well, dang, it's like, I want to have that same priority for like me and my family. Like, I want to be able to work and I want to be able to have this time to look for opportunity and be able to enjoy my family.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so I think for me, just having that
time off,
having that, it allowed me to kind of be more intentional with the things in life that really matter.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like it sucks, but it was kind of funny too because I remember us talking and you'd be like, "Man, I got this much time, like paid time off," and they're telling me I can't use it.
Yes, like, what? I'm like, what the heck? Yes,
like,
literally.
How are they controlling it to that? It's like you can't use this. Like it's called paid time off.
Literally paid time off.
So, but I mean, I think like even to piggyback off what you're saying, like with the video stuff, like even with the model and all those things, a lot of having that freedom has allowed me to venture to things that are still oddly connected to my passion.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like with the whole modeling thing, I'll try to make this story very short too, but obviously got into videography through college and all that, but shooting wise. But just kind of like being into like fitness and working out and different things like that. I had one of my old teammates in cheerleading approach me and say, "Hey, like we're doing a shoot for Gamecock football and all this stuff, and like they're showing off the new uniforms. Like, would you want to come jump into that?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" And he was like, "Yeah, we'll pay you." And I was like, "Oh, word!" Like I thought it was just gonna be a fun experience where I can just be in like modeling. And so they paid me, and then next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, we're doing this series called Battle Armor." And so it was like week after week after week during the football season, I'm doing these shoots where I'm like in the uniform and doing all this stuff. And so like going back to my original idea when I was in college about mixing music with videography, now I'm in a place where I'm able to share, hey, I make beats. If y'all need beats for these videos, if y'all need, you know what I'm saying? So now it's allowed me to be in a place where I'm making connections.
Networking.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so it's like, even though I don't want to be modeling, acting, or whatever you want to call it for the rest of my life, the thing that I've actually been placed and graced to be in now has opened up a door for me to say, hey, well, here's a product that I offer outside of what I'm just doing. And, you know, make those connections. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like this whole thing of networking that I would not have the opportunity to do if I was doing that other 9 to 5 where I get off at 5 o'clock, but we got to shoot at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just really awesome what the Lord has done in that. But the networking and all that stuff, like even with Coltree and I got to kind of get Coltree out of my head because with the rebranding, but whatever. Like even with that, like it's taking time for us to be able to like go source together and me help him out. And then like when we're meeting up with people or getting to go to concerts where you're going to a concert, you're wearing vintage. Now you got people coming up to you like, yo, like that vintage is dope. And then you start talking to them. They talk about how they like music and how they play or something. And then it's like, yo, well, I produce. Cy'ree plays guitar. So it's like, but our time has now been open where it's like you could even look at that and say like, we just had a business meeting.
For sure.
Yeah.
For
You know
sure.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So what does it look like for the vintage shop moving forward? Like, are you setting up these pop-ups still? Are you going to like a market? Or because I know music festivals aren't really happening right now. Because of COVID. Frustrating. But like
Talk about that on another
talk
podcast
about that on another
too.
podcast too if you want to.
Well.
But what is that like outside of just IG? Like where do you see this vintage shop expanding to as far as like going to a place to be like, oh, I can go through a rack of clothes, or what have you? Like, what do you see there?
So from Instagram, the next step, which this Saturday, we're gonna be at Soda City, with one of my friends who.
It is September 12th, correct?
September 12th.
There you
Yes.
go.
Is that right?
September 12th. Hopefully not
Check the
13th.
phone.
It'll be 12th.
9/11's on Friday,
I think.
I
Is that right?
double check that.
Yeah, let me
Fact checks.
fact checks.
Check.
I don't even know what my calendar is. I need to order.
Bruh, I'm looking at his phone right now. I got stressed out just looking at his phone.
Yeah, no, you're right. Saturday is the 12th.
Yeah, so Saturday 12th in Columbia.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a pop-up with a small business called Jane and Marie. They do a lot of reworked like vintage furniture, like old furniture, antiques, houseware, that kind of thing. And until all of our applications and business license and everything come back, then we'll eventually have our own at Soda City. And then from there at Soda City, my dream and my heart is to actually start and get a little studio or a brick and mortar store like in Columbia, Casey area, downtown Columbia area. And then from there, just grow and grow and grow into what I'll God wants us to be. But the end goal for sure is definitely having a place in Columbia, setting the atmosphere that I don't believe is here yet in a space where it isn't, so that way it can bloom and blossom to be a place where somebody might want to come and get that vintage need.
Yeah.
Or people in Columbia who really enjoy fashion. Okay, it's like there's not a lot of places here, but we have the shop. Like, this is the vintage shop we know.
Yeah.
So when I went to Charlotte, I put out a Instagram just like request, like, hey, does anybody know of any cool vintage shops in Charlotte? And I got about 6 or 7 hits, like, go to this place, go to this place, go to this place. So I went to all of them, and they were all doing well. They all loved what they were doing, and I was sourcing around looking for some stuff, and I found one sweatshirt the whole day. And so it got me thinking. I was like, man, like, you come back to Columbia, you know, if I really do my thing the whole day, I might can leave with the whole bag. And whenever people say, hey, what are some cool vintage shops in Columbia, there's like, Goodwill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Salvation Army. Yeah. And so for me, I'm just
Yard
like,
sales.
man, like, I really want to be, I really want to be the one to kind of provide that need in Columbia, something that's not there. And so I truly believe just in starting that up.
Yeah. So this Saturday at Soda City Market, do you want to share a little bit about what you're bringing to the pop-up shop? Like what are you bringing that day? Like, what kind of shirts and stuff that you bring in? Is it more of, are we doing simply old school, like college tees, or is it band tees, or what's the inventory you're going to be bringing to Saturday?
Yep. So Soda City's in downtown Columbia, which is a lot of college students. So for me, I try to think about like the demographic of people that are going to be there. If it's going to be younger, if it's going to be older. And so knowing that, a lot of people that are going to USC, I'm like, man, like, I'm going to have some USC gear. So I'm going to have a lot of like vintage USC gear, a lot of sports teams, Panthers, college teams like Duke. We're going to have just like cartoon T-shirts. Like, we're going to have a little bit of everything. If you can think about it, even if it's not a thing and it's just a random cool graphic that you might connect with, because the people like a lot of abstract, like art T-shirts.
Yeah.
Like really like creative stuff, bleach stuff. So like anything that you could possibly think of, we'll have, and then we'll have like a special section of some of the band tees. I'm kind of connected. I'm kind of connected to my band tees, but I'm gonna bring a couple heaters out there too. So for the ones that truly get it and understand it, that want to spend a little bit more money, we'll have some of that out there too. So a little bit of T-shirts for everybody.
Yeah,
dope,
diverse selection for sure.
Are you gonna be there, El?
Yes, I will be there. I will be there and wearing some vintage as well. So y'all come on by, see us and stuff like that.
Yeah, so if y'all are in the Columbia area this weekend, go out to Soda City. What time are you guys going to be there?
We are going to be there at 9. I'll be there at 7, but don't come at 7.
9 in the morning.
999.
Is that Main Street? Where is Soda City?
Main Street, yeah.
9 a.m. Main Street.
Main Street.
Main Street.
Dope.
Yep, for sure.
Cool, man.
It's gonna be dope.
Yeah, so this is the first podcast that we wanted to put out. As you can tell, there's not a lot of structure to it. It's really just a couple guys talking about life. I really wanted to get this one out first, just talking about our experiences in life and where we each come from, and kind of how we got to where we are, just so the listeners can kind of understand, like, all right, this is who it is. And it may not always be us three.
Yeah.
It may just be El one week, or it may just be me one week, or maybe other people. I mean, I don't live here, so it's
not yet.
Not yet.
Trying to get them back home. Y'all be praying for that.
Legit. So here's the thing. Every single conversation from the past 3 years that I've had with El,
over the phone especially.
Over the phone, it's always been like, so you coming back to Columbia.
I'm believing it's prophetic, so if y'all believe in that stuff, definitely be praying in agreement with me that my guy's going to be back. So
cool. Well, thanks, guys, for joining today. I know it was kind of all over the place, but it's been great to hear each of y'all's stories, to see where we are and Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. What's you want to share your social media? You know.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can plug IGs, I guess.
Plug
The
IGs.
plug over here.
I'm just saying, it's networking. Just let people know, like,
phone
follow.
For sure. Yeah, no, for sure. So you can follow me on Instagram if you guys want to, at _Thomas Stroud _. If you guys want to look at some of my work, you can go to www.royaltymedia, ROYALTmedia.com. You can see some of the work that I've done over the past 3 or 4 years there. Yeah, it's pretty much me. I'm just on Instagram. I don't really do Twitter. But King Cree over here. What's your IG?
King Cree 33. Give me that follow, baby.
Dope. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And L started off the podcast with his IG,
Yeah,
but
no, I didn't
say it again.
I didn't give y'all the IG, but it is it is at life of _L. Yeah, and I'm working on creating a new, I guess an additional Instagram that's just going to be just music stuff, just beats, just collabs, just, stuff like that. Networking area
Cool.
for that, but
So
and then
look
y'all
out for
can,
that.
yeah,
Cool.
look after that, but look out, Lord.
Out for that.
Yeah, look out for that. And then, like I said, on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, what else? I guess you could check out SoundCloud too for all my rappers or beat makers and collaborations. A lot of beats are on SoundCloud, but you can just look up Sir Ellington. So, yeah.
Cool.
That's it.
All right. Signing off. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Peace.